Welcome to Our Story, His Glory. I'm Rod.
I'm David.
Okay. We are Fresh Start Christian Harvest Ministries, which our ministry is Fresh Start Christian Sober Living.
And we specialize in sober living homes
in North Texas.
Okay,
this is our first podcast, so bear with us. What we're going to do today is just a brief history on each one of us, a little bit about Fresh Start Christian Sober Living. As time goes on, we want to have guests, hopefully guests come in here that have had a life change through experience with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in their recovery, to give testimonies and to talk to us about their story. Our stories are different but similar, because I think both David and I, we give all the credit to him. So anyhow, what we're going to do is I'm just going to do a little short outline of my story, why I'm here. David will give a short one of his. Down the road, we'll both give a full-length testimony of our lives and our recovery. And throughout our different casts, we would come up with different things with recovery and the way we do it at sorry about that. The way we do it at Fresh Start Christian Sober Living. Celebrate recovery is something I have in my past, so if I say that by mistake, just forgive me. Okay, real quick about myself. I came from a normal lower middle class home out of Southern California. Went through school there. I got out of school. I went straight into the Navy. In the Navy, sailors drink, and I did a good job of that. I got out of the Navy. I got married about a year after I got out of the Navy, and I drank where I worked, and we just drank. That first marriage didn't last too good. The wife kind of was cheating on me a little bit, and that kind of turned me sour on marriage, and I became a heavier drinker and a bad womanizer. We got divorced. I had 3 children. When we got divorced, that took me down. I met my current wife about a year later. We got married. I went back to college, became a respiratory therapist. I went from there into medical sales, into real estate. The whole time I was drinking, I drank in excess of a quarter of vodka a day. So I guess I was a functioning alcoholic. I was a real POS as far as a husband and as far as being a father. That went on for about 31 years. I quit drinking in my early 50s and was sober for about 2 or 3 years. And I guess we just kind of drifted in our communications. I ran into some people, and I got hooked on crack cocaine. What a great life. It took me down. I lost my job. I lost my real estate company. I lost my rental house. I lost my car. My wife had to divorce me to protect what she had. All my friends disowned me naturally. I was out on the streets for 3 or 4 years. I got down to about 155 pounds. I weighed about 205 now, so you can see how skinny I was. I hit rock bottom. Finally, one day I called my wife. I asked her, I said, could I come home? And she says, nah, everybody says not to let you come home, but I love you. I will let you come home under certain circumstances, that being that she would test me if she thought I was using. 3 tests and negative test, and I'm out. So the first time I tested, I had to go sleep in the car overnight in an empty parking lot. So I didn't do that again. She was always going to a Bible study at her church. And after, about a month back, I just looked at her one day. I said, hey, I want to go with you next week. And she says, I tell all the people at that Bible study about you. So anyhow, that week came by. I went in there. I was a little nervous. 25 people came up to me and hugged me and loved me and told me that God loved me. So I always had head knowledge of God, but I'll be honest, I never thought that after what I'd done for 30-some years that God would ever forgive me. But through that Bible study, I learned about David. I learned about Paul or Saul. God forgave them, and I thought, wow, God would forgive me. So at 61 years of age, I was born again. I gave my life to Christ, and I was baptized. That was still, when I think about today, is a moment that really took me. I mean, I came out of that water, and it was just a bright light, and I just felt like a different person. There was a hole. They always talk about a hole being filled. There was a hole that was filled. but it took 61 years to go that 18 inches from here to the heart, from the head to the heart. So it was life changing for me. And at 61, I guess I want to. Usually, I don't tell people this because I don't want everybody to say, oh, "Okay, I gave my life to Christ. How come I still this?" But it changed me. I quit. I never had another drug or alcohol. I did have problems with cigarettes for another 6 months. Finally, I just said that was stupid, so I quit those. Uh, we got back together. Uh, the kids accepted me. Opened another real estate company with a mortgage company and an escrow company with my son. We were doing really good. The real estate market crashed. But prior to that, a year after I was born again and opened that real estate office, I came down with stage 3 colon cancer. And that's a whole story in itself that we'll talk about another day. But the miracles happened there, and I'm cancer free today. Uh,
Yeah.
I retired at 68 years of age. We moved from California to Austin, Texas, and I thought, wow, all my past is behind me. Nobody knows my past. And so I thought, hey, I got a whole new life. Start going to a church there. The pastor there had us join his Sunday night Bible study. He found out about my past, and he said, there's this thing called Celebrate Recovery. I've always wanted to do it in the church. And he says, you'd be great. So we started looking into it. We went to training for, I think about the third week we was there, and we come walking out of that training. My wife looked at me and she says, I can read you like a book. And I said, what do you mean? She says, you're not going to do this, are you? I says, no, I'm not going to get up and tell people that I was a drug addict, I was an alcoholic, I was a real POS. I'm not going to do that. And God has a nice sense of humor. He slapped me upside the head, and then I just all of a sudden said, no, I guess I am doing this. So short of the story is we did 6 years in Austin, Celebrate Recovery ministry leader. We did prison ministries at Travis Correctional Center there in Austin for 2 years. We moved up here to Prosper, beautiful Prosper, Texas. And we had some land in Austin by the lake, so we sold that. And because of Celebrate Recovery, I'd met enough men that were having trouble at sober living houses, 5 guys to a room. They take a shower, somebody steals their stuff. So God has been so good to me, I wanted to give back. So we decided we wanted to open a sober living house, and that's how Fresh Start Christian Sober Living began. So I'm going to give it over to David now because my time's up for today. So
Yes. So my name's David. I was born and raised in Highland Park, Michigan. And Highland Park is a small city that is centered in Detroit. So it separates the west side from the east side of Detroit, Michigan. So when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, Highland Park was considered the poorest city in the country. And even to this day, it's still rated the poorest city in the country. And so with much poverty begets much crime. Unfortunately, I became a product of that environment. Since the day I was born, my dad was addicted to crack cocaine. My mom, she smoked marijuana to escape her reality. I pretty much grew up in poverty my entire life. And, I experienced abandonment issues. I suffered from neglect and things of that nature. Me and my parents have a great relationship today, but when I was growing up, they just wasn't able to be there for me. I'm the youngest of 4 children. My mom was on welfare. There were times where she would, take me to the welfare office with her and, stand in this long line to get food stamps. There was times we didn't have food to eat. We had very limited resources when I was coming up. So to fast forward a little bit, I can remember I was in the 5th grade. I was a great student, but we got evicted so much by the time I made it to the 5th grade, like I hated school because I was always the new kid in the class. We had to move to another area and in the middle of the school year. So I never really had friends or anything of that nature. So I was a straight A student in the 5th grade. Leading into the 6th grade that summer, I had the same pair of shoes for the entire school year. And my mom didn't notice that my feet was growing. I was a growing kid. So I had corns on each toe, on all 10 toes, and because my feet was outgrowing the shoes. And So all the drug dealers in the neighborhood, like I was under heavy influence from the older guys, and they were selling drugs and things of that nature. So when was supposed to start the 11th grade, I didn't go to school. I actually started selling crack cocaine. And, I did that for many years. I sold drugs and sold drugs, just to provide for myself, to, feed myself, to clothe myself. And I can recall the very first semester of the sixth grade, I went from straight A's to straight F's. And so when report card day came, my mom got wind of, me having straight F's. So she went to the parent teacher conference, and the teacher said, I don't even know who your son is. He never came to school at all. So, my mom she gave me a good beating and, made me straighten up. So for the entire middle school years, through sixth through the eighth grade, I was going to school and I got my grades back up, but I was still selling drugs after school part time. And so when high school came, my mom was just overwhelmed. I had, my siblings start having kids, in their teenage years, so she really couldn't pay any attention to me. So I became a high school dropout and a full-time drug dealer. Excuse me. By the time I was 15 years old, I was just full blown in the streets. I was addicted to the lifestyle of selling crack cocaine, and a lot came along with that territory. Like all the friends that I grew up with, I had three best friends that were murdered on different occasions, and none of them were able to see the age of 21. They went to a premature grave. I was shot myself. I got shot, due to selling drugs. I was shot at the age of 15 years old. The bullet shattered my knee bone. Took me 2 years to learn how to walk again on my leg. But that still didn't stop me. I still wanted to be a provider and provide for myself and, try to take care of my family and things of that nature. And so I sold drugs for 15 years, from the age of 11 to, I turned 25, 26 years old. And then I sold a substantial amount of narcotics to an undercover task force agent. And that landed me in jail. And, fortunately for me, I did 4 years in the penitentiary. They were trying to give me 18 years. So I lawyered up, and when I went to prison is when I really started seeking God. I wasn't trying to watch television, play cards, or gamble or anything. I just dug into the Bible. I read the Bible from cover to cover. And that's when I started really building a relationship with God. I always knew who God was, but I never really had a relationship with him. And so I built that relationship, established that, and upon my release, upon getting out, I didn't know how to live life normal. I mean, like I said, selling drugs was my normalcy, the street life, being a thug, things of that nature. And so, I went to work and started working, and that was difficult for me, to go from making money and, selling drugs to not making any money. And it was tough. So I was kind of straddling the fence and was going to decide to go back to selling drugs. But, I had a child and, I had two kids at that time, and they kind of sent me a different direction. So I decided not to do that. And just to make a long story short, it was so rough on me, and I never dealt with all the pain and the tragedies that I've experienced to the point where I became addicted to the exact same substance that I was selling, and caused so much destruction. And it destroyed my life. It destroyed my relationships. It destroyed my marriage, everything. And so I struggled with that for about 8 years of my life. And that led me to Fresh Start. And that actually was a game changer. It just changed the whole trajectory of my path. And, I never even knew what sober living was. And so when I met Rod here, and, had a heart to help people, deal with their addictions and overcome their addictions, it was just like a game changer for me. And so, with that being said, I'll get into a lot more of my story later on down the road. I'll share more of my testimony and, my trials and tribulations. But, for now, we just want to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us. You know, this is our first podcast, so the walls is a bit bare.
Yeah.
So just bear with us. You know, we're stumbling through it here a little bit, here and there, but please follow us as we grow. And, you know, we would appreciate you guys if you just continue to tune in and bear with us. We don't have our banner, our sign yet, but if you guys would, you know, want to know more about us, you know, you can visit our website. And if you like to make a donation towards the cause, then you could join us at
FreshStartCSL.com.
FreshStartCSL.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, our cameraman's so gracious because, you know, our great sign's not up here. We're still putting furniture together. This is new to us. So just bear with us. I hope you stay with us. We give him some stuff on paper he's going to make copies of so you can get our emails to either David or myself if you want to email us. Or like you said, if you want to check out our webpage for Fresh Start, you can do that. And if you feel the need, the only reason we're talking about donations and stuff is here's the situation in a nutshell. We started this when we first started Celebrate Recovery. Here I go again. When we first started Fresh Start, I had a lot of people say, don't put Christian in there because, you know, you're going to turn people away. We're 3 years old, and we're turning away 5 to 6 people a week. So because of the economy and stuff, we can't really afford to buy another house. We have to lease, and money is not always easy to come by. And I know everybody's tight, but if you feel it a need, or if you'd like to help us, it's on there on our website, because we are trying to grow and take care of that need throughout the north end of Texas up here. So we love you all. Hope you all come back. And if you have a testimony, you want to talk to us, we'll have that flashed up on the screen at the end also. It's for our emails, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks.
God bless you.
God bless you all.
I have searched